the COVID purists have lost Dr. Phil. By COVID purist, I mean those who still believe that lockdowns and vaccines were necessary and that world governments just didn't know any better and they did their best. They knew better. And now Dr. Phil even says they knew better. And yet, Dr. Fauci was awarded the Stern Medal this week for his, quote, commitment to evidence-based decision-making and also speaking truth to power. Well, this is a medal for people who have made contributions to medicine. Here is the Irish Minister of Foreign Affairs, Michael Martin, giving him this award with a straight face, thanking him for speaking truth to power as an evidence-based decision-making. And you know, we at Redacted cannot let this slide. As Dr. Phil said on his show this week, they did know better. And let's just remind ourselves of a few ways that we know that. Social distancing, for one. Here is Dr. Fauci in 2021 talking about maintaining the social distancing and how important that was.
Right now is to maintain the physical and social distancing.
And here is what he said to Congress in January when he was asked where that whole 6 feet apart social distancing came from. He said, it just sort of appeared. I ask you, is that evidence-based decision-making? Okay, let's keep going. On the COVID origins, we've gone over and over again over how he manipulated the academic paper to shoot down the lab leak as a theory. I refer you to all the ones we've done about the Nature paper, so I won't repeat myself. He did many interviews shooting down this lab leak, such as this exclusive National Geographic article from May of 2020. He said that, the evidence is very, very strongly leading towards that this could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated. That's what he said about the evidence. Well, since then, several government agencies have validated the lab leak theory. Whistleblowers have said that they raised this with Dr. Fauci and his team as early as 2020. And now even he admitted in Senate testimony recently the same thing. The Senate Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic acknowledged that Fauci said that the lab leak theory is not a conspiracy theory. This comes nearly 4 years after prompting the publication of the now infamous proximal origin paper that attempted to vilify and disprove the lab leak hypothesis. Okay, so that's not evidence-based decision-making, is it?
No,
it's not. It's the opposite. Okay, let's move on to mask mandates. Fauci originally said that masks were not necessary, but then he went on to fully support masking and mask mandates, such as in this video he did with Mark Zuckerberg.
So I'm hoping that you can tell us a bit more about how your understanding of what we should do has evolved and maybe some of the areas where your guidance for people around the country has changed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're dealing with something that's changing in real time, Mark, that's really the nature of science. You look at the data and the information you have at any given time, and you make a decision with regard to policy based on that information. As the information changes, then you have to be flexible enough and humble enough to be able to change how you think about things. And I think, one of the important things that we're emphasizing right now that really evolved from a situation that did change is our insistence now on wearing masks. I mean, masks are very important. They protect you from giving infection to someone else.
Okay, a few things about that. Data at the time did show that places with mask mandates had higher rates of COVID. We knew this as early as 2021. Also, studies showed that mask wearing can make COVID exposure worse, given that you get a bigger viral load if COVID gets trapped in your lungs while wearing a mask because you can't naturally exhale any virus you're exposed to. This is called the Fogen effect. It may be Fogen, I'm not sure. Also, Fauci never warned us about the research that already showed that masks could lead to toxins and maybe toxics for humans due to chronic carbon dioxide exposure. Look at this study. This is a review of readily available research. Some of the research on the ineffectiveness and toxicity of masks is dated as far back as 2005. So we've known this for a long time, but we pretended we didn't. So again, is Fauci deserving of an award based on evidence-based decisions? I ask you.
No.
This data
and the
was
highest
available.
salary in the government?
Right. Okay, let's move on to natural immunity. When he was asked why people who had previous exposure to COVID were not protected and maybe not necessary to put a vaccine into their bodies, he said, oh no, the only way we know to how to deal with this, natural immunity or not, we just don't know. We don't know the numbers. We don't know about herd immunity. So we just have to vaccinate as many people as possible. He said that many times. Well, here is a congressional hearing just last year where Iowa Representative Mariannette Miller Meeks, a doctor, talked to another doctor, Dr. Martin Kulldorff, about natural immunity and how that is not a secret.
Fanatics who wants to vaccinate every person in this country, even though they are children who has very little risk for it, even though they've already had the COVID, that has undermined the trust in other vaccines enormously, creating enormous vaccine hesitancy.
So not allowing their provider or physician to determine the risk and the benefit.
Yeah, and also people themselves, because people know that about immunity. We learn that in school. People know that if you've had a disease, you had...
It wasn't until I came to Congress that I found out infection-acquired immunity was a novel concept.
Yeah, I guess we knew about it since 430 BC of the Athenian plague until 2020, and then we didn't know about it for 3 years, and now we know about it again, so...
It's an amazing moment,
Yeah.
right? 430 BC.
Right. So did Dr. Fauci not know that? Did he,
No,
as the nation's top doctor, did he not know this?
No, he absolutely knew it. He was on C-SPAN in their morning show answering questions a decade or so ago on live television about the flu. And when caller called in and asked about the flu and asked, well, if you have natural immunity, and he said, no, that you absolutely do not need a flu shot then. He said, you have the best form of immunity possible.
Right.
Right? You had the flu. You have the best possible natural immunity. Now you don't need to go and get a flu shot, he said live on television.
Right. So we're just talking about policies right here now, right? We're talking about vaccine mandates, mask mandates, social distancing. Because again, let's look at this award for the Stern ceremony that was in Ireland this week. He's given this award for his commitments to evidence-based decision-making, even though we can clearly see he made decisions for the American population, which were then extrapolated to the world, against readily available evidence at the time. So this commitment to evidence-based decision-making, when did that happen? Well, I'm just so curious. I'm very curious
also,
when that happened.
Started this week.
Who's the power he's speaking truth to? Because he didn't speak truth to. Are we the power? Are they acknowledging that we are finally the power, but he wasn't speaking truth? Like,
it's not you and me. We don't have any power, it seems. But no, I don't know who he's speaking to.
Right.
He was in cahoots with the power.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's an award for liars because, and I'm not going to aspire to it at all. Please never give me that award if that's what this is for. Now, back to what Dr. Phil said, because I'm just so pleased to see him saying this to a mainstream audience on mainstream media. I can't play you the clip because it may be copyright, but I'll show you what he said. Here is a link to him tweeting about it, and you can see this clip for yourself, and I encourage you to spend 2 minutes watching it. He says, I'm not some conspiracy theorist. I'm saying we need to think about whether we're going to rely on science and how we're going to react when the government comes in and starts telling us what we can and can't do, because obviously the government never did rely on science. He says, I think we need less government. I think if they would step back, we tend to have a way to work things out. So they're going to be coming for Dr. Phil next, folks. They're going to say he is a conspiracy theorist, but he was applauded by his audience for saying this on mainstream media, and my jaw hit the floor. I'm not used to this.
I like based Dr. Phil. He did this past week. He did a whole breakdown of Chinese, secret Chinese camps in the United States and military installations, and had a huge map with. I mean, it was crazy to see him like doing all of this new reporting. I'm like, what's Dr. Phil doing?
Yeah.
He did a big one on gender and canceled words. Like he's
What's happening?
He's on a roll. I don't know.
I've always appreciated his
Oprah's
straight
not backing
talking
him anymore.
I know, back when Oprah
Oprah's
backed
like,
him.
I don't know that guy.
Right? That was my question.
I
too.
appreciated it. Like, I read his book years ago when he is, whatever the name of his book was. And, it's like, you're fat because you want to be fat. I like his straight talk.
Yeah.
You're fat. Stop putting food in your mouth. You're fat because you want to be fat.
I don't have preconceived notions about Dr. Phil really at all. And so I guess I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, yeah, he said that. He's saying rational things. There's nothing really that, I don't know, maybe I've missed the maligning of Dr. Phil in the past, but I don't have any. You're free to lay them on me, whatever your preconceived notions of Dr. Phil, I'll listen. But
I mean, I think when he's done the more salacious sort of Jerry Springer-esque style shows, like the Maury Povich style, like paternity test kind of stuff.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I don't watch Dr. Phil. I don't watch daytime television. And hopefully you don't either. Hopefully you're watching our show. But anyway, I don't know.
I wonder if he'll do something on Ozempic that piss off Oprah.
Ooh, I'd love that.
Maybe
That'd be
he already
interesting.
has. Let me know what you think of that.
I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. And we will see you next time, everyone.